Hey y'all, happy Sunday and welcome to this week's live Q&A session. This is the portion of the show where we allow YouTube to send out notifications that we're going live. If you're watching this live Q&A on replay, please scrub ahead until this graphic disappears and the actual show begins. If you're watching live and you have any comments or questions, please go ahead and put them in the live chat. But for now, grab a beverage, sit back, and relax while the countdown timer does its thing. Then we'll get started. Hello, happy Monday, everybody. Oh, Monday, Sunday. Good grief. I'm not going to do that to you again. That's for you, Russ Tyndall. I did that once before and it kind of messed up his day. He's like, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. Oh man, it's been one of those kind of weeks. I don't know whether I'm coming, going, or have already been and gone. Let's see, just a standard open Q&A today. I don't really have any huge announcements or anything like that. I've got a separate project going back there, just letting the paint dry. I got to put on one more coat. And yeah, that nice flat table is a great surface to let paint dry. So what can you say? Before I do get going, I wanted to give a shout out to Steve over at Harniel Media. He is my one and only moderator so far out in the chat. If you're thinking about a website, I would very highly suggest contacting Harneal Media at harnealmedia.com, Harneal. They sponsor my website. They're great people to work with, and it's 100% personalized service. You're dealing with Steve, not some nameless, faceless person in some call center. There's a link in the description of all of my videos for Harneal Media. Check them out. You will not be disappointed. Let's go ahead and get into some questions right off the top. And Roger Brown brought up a good one. I have seen a couple of videos that allude to this, but I've never seen it actually explained. I haven't done a video on this, but because I don't do this kind of project. But Roger says I downloaded a DXF file that has multiple parts, and some of them will slot together. It came as metric. Can Aspire change it to inches? It's for half-inch plywood. The short answer is yes, it can do all that. Um, Let me go ahead and jump over to Aspire. And again, because StreamYard has changed its settings, I now have to do all this manually. I can't just use my Stream Deck because I haven't reprogrammed it. Basically, you end up with something like this. You've got your material all set up, and then you zoom out, and the piece is absolutely huge. It was made for metric, and that's perfect if you're using metric. But if you want to convert that to imperial, it's real easy. All you need to do is select the vector and then come over here to set selected object size. And you'll click on that, and we see here this is 177.8. Okay, in metric that makes perfect sense, but in imperial, I mean, that's ginormous. So to convert this to metric, what we're going to do is we're going to make sure we have link XY checked, and we're going to convert to imperial. And all we'll do is we'll come up here to either one of these. It doesn't matter which, the width in X or the height in Y. And I'm going to make sure that my cursor is flashing right after the last digit of the measurement. Then on my keyboard, I'm going to hit the asterisk, which on my keyboard is hold down shift and it's the number 8 up above all the letters here. And then I'll tap the letter, let go of shift, tap the letter I. And that's the command to convert that number to imperial. Then I'll tap the equals button, and on my keyboard, it's just to the left of the backspace button. And it converts that measurement to the imperial equivalent. Then I'll click apply. Well, now it's way the heckin' gone up here because that's where the origin of the pattern was drawn. I'll come down here, make sure I got it selected, and I'll align it to the center of my material. Now I can come in and it fits my material. Now, if you want to scale it from here, for instance, this is 7 inches by 7 inches. Suppose I want this to be 8 inches by 8 inches. Now I can go ahead, make sure link XY is scaled, and I can, whoops, decimal points are important. Now I can go ahead and scale it to the size I want. Now that's the easy part. That's the easy part. It's a little more difficult when you have these slots that you want to slot for your 1/2 inch material, mainly because they're going in 2 different directions. Well, the first step in doing this is we need to cut these grooves a little bit. We need to cut them loose from the rest of the sheet here. So again, I'll select it. Then I'm going to tap the letter N on my keyboard to go into node editing. And I'll come up and I'll put my cursor over one of these nodes. And you can do this either way. You can either right click and cut the vector, or you can just put your cursor over that next point and tap the letter C on the keyboard to cut the vector. Now these are 2 separate vectors. And then we'll do the same thing up here. We'll tap the letter C, select again, and we'll tap the letter C. So now I'll just right click to come out of node editing. I've got a separate vector here and a separate vector there. Now on this one here, I want to widen this to a 1/2 inch, but I don't want to increase the depth. So with it selected, I'm going to set selected object size. And if I have more than one of these, I can select them all separately. Or I can hold down Shift and select them all together. Because in the newer versions of Aspire, I can scale the items individually. Now, because I only have one selected, I'm going to do this one separately. And I want to anchor the vector at this corner, if this is the important corner for it to be anchored to. Okay, I'm going to unlink my XY, and now I'm going to size the width of this to match my 1/2 inch thick material. So I'll change that to 0.5. My depth has not changed. I'll click apply. And that notch has just gotten bigger. Okay. Now up here, we have a different situation because it's vertical. I still want this notch to be connected down at this corner. So I'll keep the bottom left corner. But now I want to change the height in Y to match my 1/2 inch thick material. So I'll highlight that, click 0.5 and apply it. Now I've just made those notches a 1/2 inch. Now we get down to the easier part. I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to come back and I'm going to trim these here, close it, and now I'll select everything and join the vectors. I've got 2 open vectors I want to join, and I now have the one closed vector, and those notches have been changed so that they will slip over the 1/2 inch thick material. So that was a long answer to a short question, but yes, it can be done. If you have, the thing to remember is if you have a bunch of these cutouts here, these slots where it's supposed to fit over your piece of material for, as you mentioned in your example, 1/2 inch thick material, you can go through and you can cut all of the horizontal notches free at one time, select them all, then come up here and scale them individually. Let me show you what that's going to look like here. I'm just going to draw, let's just do a bunch of little circles here just to demonstrate scaling items individually. Boom, 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 boom. Close. And these are a bunch of 1/4-inch circles. If I select all of them and go in to scale them, what it's measuring is the total distance all of these objects take up. So they're taking up a 7.5-inch wide, 1/2-inch tall area. But if I want to increase these to 3/8 of an inch, I will scale them individually, and we see now that each one is a 1/4 of an inch. So now I'll come up here and I'll change this, making sure I have length XY checked, and go 375. Click apply, and each one of them has been individually scaled up. Okay. Well, you can do that with these slots, but if you do all of the vertical ones first, then come back and do the horizontal ones, because they're you'll be increasing the width on these horizontal ones, and you'll be increasing the height on the vertical slots, if that makes any sense. So that's basically how you would do that. The ability to scale objects individually, I believe, started with version 11.0, but I may be wrong on that. But the main thing to help with converting from metric to imperial or imperial to metric is select the object, go up here, and if I wanted to scale this for metric, and I got it as a imperial file, I would come up to make sure link XY is checked, come up here and asterisk to convert to metric, M equals, and then to convert to imperial, asterisk I equals. Okay. So that's the easy way. So I hope that answers that question. And excellent question. Like I said, I've never done a video specifically on it because I don't do usually this type of a project. But Roger, thank you for giving me the opportunity to demonstrate that. I really do appreciate it. Okay, let's see here, and I hope that answered your question. Hamilton CNC says, not a question, but a comment. Watched my tramming video. Thank you very much. I used a sheet of glass from a 3D printer. Okay. Leveled each corner within a thousandths, and after toying for hours, learned the glass was concaved by 20 thousandths. That is why when I remade, I had the same issue. Because the only sheet of glass I had was 1/8 of an inch thick, very, very thin. So roughly 3 millimeters. So when I trammed the Avid CNC, and I think I did it the second when I trammed the Gatton after moving it, I went ahead and I invested in a surface plate, a granite surface plate, which was 1.5 inches thick. That puppy will not sag in the middle. But I had the exact same problem, and I chased my tail. The first time I trammed my machine, it took about 4 hours to do because I kept chasing my tail. I was getting inconsistent readings. And it was because that piece of glass was sagging in the middle. I finally just kind of faked it. Not so much faked it, but I kind of came up with a happy medium and got tram adjusted to where it was tolerable. And I was within about 2 thousandths, I think. on having my nod and tilt adjusted out. But after using that granite surface plate, I've had zero issues. So, yeah, I went through the same thing. So let's see here. Here's another one. Uh, if you design an imperial and use a metric tool definition, can VCarve desktop be able to generate proper G code? Yes. Is it necessary to have design and tooling in the same type of system? No. I use metric bits with imperial measurements, and I have no issues at all. The software knows to make that conversion. Okay. If you're in doubt, that's what the preview is for. Preview early, preview often. And if you notice a mistake in the preview, that mistake is going to be outside on the machine. Don't think it'll go away. Uh, so do your due diligence. So let's see here. Laney, Shaughnessy, welcome aboard, man. Haven't seen you in a while. There is a second way to scale. If the parts have to fit together and changing the notches, but not the part is not an option, there's another method. I can type out the steps here if you'd like. If you'd like to go through all that typing, Laney, then that's up to you. And I will never, ever say no. Share the wisdom, my friend. Share the wisdom. So let's see here. Okay, John Thompson says, but isn't your corner locking place different in each slot? It can be. It can be. So that's another group that you're going to have to think about and think ahead. If, for instance, if, let me go back to sharing here. And if, for instance, I have, if this slot here needs to be a specific distance away from this corner, and I have another one over here that needs to be the same distance away from this corner, I may have to select each one individually and use a different anchor point for each one. I may have to do that, but that's just something that I'm going to have to think through. So yes, it's something to take into consideration. Well, that, and you may have one in the center, and you may want to lock your slot by the center so it doesn't change in its vertical or horizontal position. But that's something to remember when you're going through and you're doing all of this, is decide where you need that uh, slot to be to keep it lined up. Okay. So let's see. Okay, go back to the part you just had, measure the notch. Now draw a box around the entire part. If you measure the horizontal slot, make the box width be a relative number. Slot 0.25 box would be 0.25. Okay, draw a box around the entire part. You can do the metric to imperial conversion if you want first. Okay, okay, okay. I think I know where you're going, Laney. I think I know where you're going. I want to get you on the show. Answer my email, dude. Okay, draw a box around the entire part. I can do that. And let's say go back to the part you just had, measure the notch. Now draw a box around the entire part. Your slots are currently 0.5, yes. So the box would be 50 inches. Okay, you have me confused, Laney. You and I need to talk. Box 50 inches around the entire part. Okay. Let's draw a rectangle. 50 by 50, I'm guessing. Okay, create. Just did. All right. And center it, I would assume. Okay. Got it. We're learning together. Now select both objects. All right. Got it, Laney? I'm waiting for the I'm waiting for the next line to come in, the next instruction. No, you're fine, Laney. Don't worry about it. You're fine, man. You're fine. Oh, 25 by 25, not 50 by 50? Okay. I can fix that. Hmm. And we'll anchor it in the center. There we go. All right. Not 25. Okay. All right. Stop. Go back to 50 by 50, right? I'm following you line by line. Leave it at 50 by 50. Okay. So let's go back out here to this screen and Control Z. Come on. There we go. And size them both to 25 by 25. Okay. All right. 25 by 25. Apply. Close. Okay. Now measure the slots. Okay. They are, oops, measure distance. 1/4 inch by 0.64 thousandths. Okay. If the part is needed to fit a 1/4 inch board. Okay. They're needed to fit a 1/2 inch. So I need them to fit 1/2 inch. So now what I would do would be with this set like so, measure both parts and then change it to 50 by 50, right? Select all parts and size to 50 by 50. Okay, I see what you're doing now. All right. So we go 50 by 50, apply, and that brings us back to where we were. But yes, I see what you're getting at. I see what you're getting at. Okay. And now if I measure that, that's 1/2 inch. From that corner to that corner, we've got a 1/2 inch. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. I'm going to play around with that a little bit, Laney. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Yeah. I appreciate that. That is a good way. Okay, so you got that from Peter Pasuelo? Man, he is, whew, man. Okay, Robin Stone, I saw your question a little earlier. Let me get to it real quick like. When cutting a design with a bit change, after changing the bit, how do I get the machine to go to the touch plate so it knows the bottom of bit location before it continues cutting? Manually is the easy way, is the easy way to do it. Um, Now, you are using a Mazo controller, I think you said. Um, Let me see. I don't know the Mazo well at all. Uh, no worries, Laney. This is live, so you just jump in. I don't know the Mazo. No, you do not home the machine again. No. There should be a way for you to manually jog the machine. So when it finishes that first cut and lifts up and it's sitting there waiting for you, I don't know the Mazo well. I don't know if you can move your gantry and move the bit over manually to an area where you can set the touch plate and then bring your bit down and then go through the, do your bit change and then go through the auto zero routine if there is one. But there should be a way for you to manually jog your spindle or router over to where your touch plate is setting, or just you should be able to move the touch plate to wherever the bit is. And I'm going to be doing a basic beginner's video on setting XY datum position and uh, setting Z0 to both the material surface and to the machine bed, because there's a lot of information out there that is assumed that is actually not quite correct. It is to a point, but from that point on, there's more to it. There is absolutely nothing that says your Z0 position has to be where you set your XY datum. It can be anywhere on that piece of material or even on another piece of material that's of the same thickness. And that's where accurate measuring comes in handy. So that's a video yet to come, but there should be a way for you to manually jog your machine around in the Mazo controller. What I would suggest is you go to Mazo's website and look for a support forum or support community. I believe they have a Facebook group. I believe they have a support community listed on their website, and ask the Mazo questions over there. I've never used one. I've seen people use them, but I've never used one myself. So there should be a way to uh, manually jog that machine over to wherever your touch plate is, and then set your Z0 after your bit change. So, Tony B says, couldn't you just write a program and run it to touch off if the touch plate is fixed? Yeah, but again, you have to be able to jog that machine over to do it. And on a Mazo, I've never seen one personally. I've seen them used in video, and that's about it. So, but definitely check for. I would go to the Mazo website and look for support. And usually there's a drop-down menu, or it might be on their support page itself, that'll list either a forum or a community of one shape, form, or another. And that's the time to that's the place to ask specific questions like that. So let's see here. Let me go back and let's see. Peter Van Vliet says, does Vectric support bridging? Kind of. Quickly creating a small rectangle between an array of parts. usually small items, that helps hold them together after everything's been cut out. You can use tabs for that. You can use tabs and you can use 3D tabs. For instance, no, you wouldn't want to use 3D tabs. You can use tabs for that. They're not specifically bridges, but for instance, if you have two pieces that are close together, if you put tabs on both of those uh, profile cutouts and place them so that they're in line with one another, that effectively is a bridge between two parts. So hope that answers that. I've done that before. So let's see here. John Sautier says CNC Nuts has a video on this on the touch plate subject. Yes, he's got several videos on the touch plate. Also, I'll put a link to. I just wrote a note to myself. Peter Pasuelo has a second channel, which is called CNC Nuts Mazo Edition. He uses a Mazo. So I don't know what all he has over on his channel, but as soon as we're done live here, I'll put a link to that channel down in the description of this video. So look for that about 10 minutes after we're finished live here. So, Dwayne Ruthig says part of the time the Z0 is machined away, so pick a point that will remain for the index. Exactly. Exactly. In fact, I put a little X on the material somewhere that I know is off of the what's being carved out, so I have a place to put the touch plate. So, all right, let's see here. Let's go to Dan Gora says, Mark, how do you do text on a curve? I've tried all of it and it goes crazy. I can't get it to curve the right way. Thanks. What problems are you having, Dan? Because there are several things that can go wrong. This is, see, this is why Steve, I keep saying he's the man. There's a link to Peter Pasuelo's Mazo channel. And just, Steve, you're way on top of it. I mean, you're just too cool for school sometimes. Let's see, what was I going to get into now? We were talking about the text on a curve thing. That's right. There are several issues that can happen when you're doing text on a curve. So let me jump back over here. It's always backwards. Okay, I will. I can. All right. Let me take all of this and delete. And now I'm going to zoom in here and I'm going to draw a circle. And it doesn't matter where I draw it. Yes, it does. I want to align that in the center. And I'm going to go into node editing and I'm going to cut the vector and I'm going to cut the vector so I have two circles. Okay. Let's go into node editing and something to pay attention to, Dan. This is probably what's happening, okay? Look for the green point. That is your start point, okay? I'm going to select this half down here. Look for the green point. Now, I'm going to purposely mess this up, okay? I'm going to put my cursor over on this side and make this the start point, all right? So I come out of node editing, and now I draw some text. And come on. Whoops, wrong one. Close. Load up. I got too many fonts on this computer. All right, here we go. And I'll type, I'll just type my name. Select it again. I'm going to shrink that down some. And I'm going to apply it to this curve. So let's go to, where is it? There it is. Text on a curve. Okay, now I've got that set to center. That looks okay. Just for this demonstration, we're good. Now, I'm going to do some more text. Come on. Okay, and close. Select it again. Let's shrink this down some. Hold down Shift. Shrink it down about so. Then I'm going to hold down Shift and select that curve. Apply text to a curve, and it's upside down and backwards. If that's what you're getting, Dan, the cure is, let's Control Z, undo it. Select the arc that is trying to follow and it's coming up backwards. Select that arc, go into node editing, and remember, in the West, we tend to go from left to right. So you need your arc to go from left to right, because what it's going to do is it's going to anchor that first character based on your arc, the start point of your arc. And if we get in here and look close, we can see the green point, that's the start point, and these arrows are pointing in this direction. That's what direction this arc is going. But if I come over here and I make this the start point, now that's the start point and the arrow is pointing around this way, counterclockwise. I can select, oops, get out of node editing, select the text, hold down Shift, select the curve, go up here to text on a curve, and now the text is running the right direction. It's all based on that vector start point. I need to make that below the curve, zoom out, close, and there I am. Now I can delete the two curves. But it's 100% where that start point is. That should get you. That should get you straightened out, Dan. Straighten you out on a curve? I guess that is possible. So, I hope that answers that. I hope that answers that. Let's see here now. Matt Haas at Awesome Wood Things. What's a good low degree V-bit for deep inlays? I personally have a, let me get over here and get a hold of it. Now, it's an Amana bit, so that means it is expensive. It is a 15 degree V-bit. And is that it? No, I don't think that's it. Nope, that's not it. I can't find it to give you a part number right off the top of my head here, Matt, but I will find it and I'll put a link to it in the description. Is that it? That is it right there. I just found it. And basically, if you need anything sharper than this, then there's an issue, because I mean, this thing is needle sharp, and it is the Amana 45611-K. I'll put that in the chat here. 45611-K. That's what I've got. Just know, don't order one. Order two. They are brittle. You will break a tip. Trust me. And yes, they hurt. They hurt. That is a needle point, and I drove one into the side of my finger, taking it out of the tube a little bit too fast. And my hands jerked apart, and wham, there it went. They hurt. And I was just hoping and praying I didn't break the tip off inside my finger. But excellent bits, I'm here to tell you. Order two, because you will break one. You too, huh? Yeah. And be very gentle taking them out of the box. And in fact, Matt, pro tip, uh, I'm sure if you're, well, I don't know where it went now. I don't see it. There it is. I'm sure because you're a tech geek too, I'm sure you've got a few old mouse pads laying around. Throw a mouse pad up there and open it and put it into the collet over that mouse pad. That way you don't. So, because just dropping it out of the collet will break the tip off of that bit. In fact, I throw the mouse pad up there for every bit change or every bit installation. So, but yeah, I find that for doing that type of work, Matt, a 15, and a 30 and a 60-degree V bit will see you through just about anything. So, and let the size of the vectors decide. You know, if you've got something that's huge, you may be able to get away with a 60-degree. If it's kind of in between, a 30-degree will work. But that 15-degree, I use that a lot for the epoxy inlays as well. So it's very, very good. Let's see here. Anonymous says a simple option, if there is one, to pick up the work from where it left off after a power outage. Oh boy. That is, I'm going to do another video on that. I do have one video using my three-way touch plate, but I know a lot of people don't have three-way touch plates. I will say that if you have set up a work offset and you use a work offset, then the three-way touch plate is not necessary. All you need is a standard, however you set your Z0. And let's see, I have done one video on setting up a work offset, but I use Mach 4. Now you can do basically the same thing in Mach 3. I don't know how to do it in any other software. I don't know if there's a way to do it with a Mazo or using Universal G-Code Sender or any other control software. I use a work offset that is in a known position so that when the power comes back on, I can just go back to that work offset and reset I have to home my machine, of course, and start all that all over again. But I can go back to that work offset and it knows where my XY datum position is. I just set my Z0 and then scroll through the G code to get somewhere close to where it was and then run from here. Again, I use Mach 4. You can do it very similarly in Mach 3, but I don't know about any other control software. The best bet would be to go to the support forum for your controller software and ask the question over there. I don't know how to do it in Universal G-Code Sender. I do know there are Facebook groups that are dedicated to that software. I would go over there and I would ask if that's what you're using. I will put a link to my video on setting up the work offset down in the link of this video. It's similar enough. I use Mach 4, but uh, it is similar enough to Mach 3 that that it will work. Okay, you use GSender. I would look for a support forum for GSender and ask them, because I don't know how to do a run from here, run from a certain line of G code in that software. So I'm sorry, I can't give you a better answer than that. Let's see here. Matt Haas, Awesome Wood Things, wants to know, is there any benefit to learning or mastering VCarve's drawing tools? Sure. I'm Adobe Illustrator expert and plan to only use that. Will I miss anything? Yes. You'll miss the ability to go in and edit something when you find a mistake after your first toolpath preview. Like you go in and suddenly you misspelled somebody's name. Don't ask me how I know that, but it happens. You could jump back over into Illustrator and change the spelling over there, then re-export, then re-import, or you could just jump over into VCarve, change the spelling, recalculate the toolpath, and go. That's a simple, oversimplified example. But if you are a Adobe Illustrator expert, and I have no reason to doubt you, um, the drawing tools in VCarve are so much simpler, you should have no problem in mastering them. If you get in and find them, see how they work, you should have absolutely zero problem with mastering those tools. And to be honest with you, you could probably do most of the editing in VCarve after you import, so you don't have to go back to Illustrator. But yeah, I mean, sure, sure, I would still learn to work with them. Having said that, Mr. Matt, knowing that you are an expert, how about some Adobe Illustrator tutorials on vector creation and incorporating them into VCarve? Because I'll be honest, my buddy Russ Tyndall has done a couple of videos on them on that already, on working with Adobe Illustrator and working with VCarve, but the more the merrier. And there are a lot of people out there that are using Adobe Illustrator. Personally, I would love it, because I'm thinking seriously about going ahead and investing in Adobe Illustrator, just because of a couple of things that Russ has told me or shown me or shown in his videos. I think it would be excellent. So let's see here. Um, yeah, Illustrator VCarve is on my long to-do list. Well, it just got longer. Here's hoping anyway. Okay, let's see here. We've got a few more questions here. Ford Waters wants to know, what's the best operation for engraving photos with the diamond bit engraver? Ooh, for engraving photos, that I do not know. Now, VCarve and Aspire both have, let me go, whoops, come on, Mark. Let me go back to sharing here. They both have the option for, let me get rid of this here, delete, and they both have quick engraving toolpaths for use with vectors for diamond drag bits, and they have the photo VCarve toolpath. Whether you can use that with a diamond drag bit or not, I don't know. I've never tried it. I've never used the Photo V-Carve toolpath. Um, and as far as engraving photos, that may be a tall order. I'm not sure. I'm going to have to claim ignorance on this one, and I'm sorry for that. Let's see here. Anthony Faith, is there a way to scale up or down a finished CRV 3D file? Yes. You scale it up or down the same way you would scale up anything else. For example, let me go back over here and let's put some clip art out here. Let's go for an alligator. All right, just because it's easy. And you scale that any way you would scale anything else. Select the items that you're going to scale and scale the selection, set selected object size. Now let's make it 7 inches wide, apply, and boom. It works the same way whether you're doing a 3D component or you're doing vectors. If you're going to be doing vectors and 3D components, select the 3D components first, then select all the vectors and scale them all at the same time. So, I mean, that's very easy. So I hope that answers that. Let's see here. Let's go here. Sargon wants to know, is there a way to control text kerning in VCarve? Yes, there is. Let's Control Z. Oops, let's go back over here. Control Z, Control Z. Bring back my text. With it as a text object, I can control the kerning. If you've already converted to curves, you're stuck with manipulating the text as any other vector object. But so long as it's still a text object, go back over to my drawing tab, edit text spacing and curve. With the text selected, I'll click on that and I can come up here between the letters and you see I've got a V and an A with 2 arrowheads in between them. Right now they're pointing to one another. So if I click my mouse button, it's going to bring those letters together. So, and I may want to do that on some of these. If I want to separate them, if say these got too close together, I'll hold down shift and those arrowheads point away from one another. And I can move them apart if I think I need to. And select this text, and now I can bring those closer together down here as well. And it's going to keep the orientation that you set when you created that text. So for instance, I have this text orientation set for the center. So it's keeping the center of the text line oriented on the center of my material. So yes, you can control kerning in VCarve. So let's get back over here and see what you're thinking here. Smash, smash, smash. Yes, thank you, Eleni. Holding down the Alt key when you're left clicking spaces all the letters at once. Let's go back and let's show that. Thank you for throwing that in. I very rarely use that because most of the time I find that while that does work, let's select this and I'm still in the text spacing. And I can tell that because I have that T right next to my pointer arrow. If I hold down Alt And you see how it spaces them all. Now, this actually did a pretty good job, but just me personally, I want to bring those a little closer as well. So it will space the entire line. And let's hold down Alt. And that brought them in too close, so let's hold down Alt and Shift. And there we go. Okay. All right. So yes, holding down the Alt key when left clicking spaces all the letters at once. But I usually find I like to go back and fine tune it letter by letter. It does a pretty good job of estimating. And then to get out of the adjust spacing and curve, just come back over here under Edit Objects and click on Selection Mode. So, okay, we have time for one more question. And that was Tony B asking, do you still recommend the Yoniko tapered ball nose, or do you have anything better in the same price range? Tony, I don't recommend any particular brand of bit. Simply because I like to keep options open. And my needs change, my budget changes. I don't really have a brand loyalty. Um, I, to me, I get asked this a lot. What is the best this? What is the best that? What is the best the other? And there are so many variables. It's impossible to say that there is a best. I think the best bit in this case is the one you can afford that does what you want it to do and does what you want it to do safely. I have created some good projects using very, very cheap tools on the that I got off of eBay or Amazon, and I've made some real garbage using real expensive tools from, well, name your source. Uh, what I personally think is if you're going to be using the tapered ball nose a lot and you're going to be doing a lot of 3D carving, then it's worth it to invest in higher quality tools. But if you're going to be doing one thing, one time, it doesn't make sense to spend a lot of money on something that you're going to use once. Case in point, the Amana surfacing bit that I have, that 2-inch diameter surfacing bit, that thing's $180. If you're going to surface one piece, it doesn't pay you to do that. There are other options out there for $15, $20, $30. But if you're going to be doing it a lot, then yes, it does pay to invest in something of higher quality. It's going to last longer. It's going to stay sharper longer. And there's a possibility it can be resharpened where some of the cheaper tools can't be. So that's 100% a personal choice. What I did when I made all of my bit videos is I put a link to the actual bit that I use in that video and that I demonstrate in that video. Then I sourced one that was a little more expensive and one that was a little cheaper to show you that there's a lot of options out there and that a lot of manufacturers use different jargon. Some, especially when it comes to tapered ball noses. Some bit manufacturers will list the radius of the tip. Some of them list the diameter of the tip. Some will list the side angle. Some don't. Some will give you the length to cut. Some don't. So by listing different bits, you can also kind of get a feel for what they're trying to, what they're displaying, what information you're getting, and some of the acronyms or some of the jargon that goes along with a bit. Like if you don't know that LOC means length of cut, you can kind of divine that yourself by looking at 2 or 3 different bits and seeing how high those flutes go up and down on the bit, you know. If you see the this manufacturer lists the radius, well, this manufacturer lists the diameter of the tip. That you can kind of get a feel for that as well. But my whole point in linking any of these bits is to show you, number one, exactly what I have, and number two, that you have options. For some reason, people want to know exactly what I'm using, so I link it. That saves me having to answer that question every time I post a video. And you can shop from there, comparison shop from there. I don't really have any brand loyalty. I go for the best bit for the job that's within my budget. So, having said all that, um, Laney, I'm seriously, check your emails, man. I'd like to get you on the show. I think that would be a lot of fun. Excuse me. Okay, that's about all the time we've got for questions today. We're a little bit over, but that's all right. Um, it does help when you show the bit you use, and that's why I do it. Um, that's why I do it, is to show you exactly what I'm using so you can comparison shop yourself and go from there. Okay. Thank you, Laney. Appreciate it. And I have had good luck with my Yonico bits as well. Let's see. Um, Channel members, remember tomorrow evening I've got something going on that you guys supplied me, and we'll get into that. Remember, live stream tomorrow night at 5:30 Pacific, 8:30 Eastern for members only. If you'd like some information, uh, let's see. Mm, okay. I'm not going to get into that because yes and kind of. Anyway, we'll get into that later on. If you'd like information on becoming a channel member, click that join button down there next to the subscribe button. A panel will pop up, a video will play. It'll tell you all about channel membership. And I want to thank all my channel members. I want to thank Steve Nealon at Harneo Media. I appreciate you, man. Uh, Link in the description of this video. I will link my work offset video and the Peter Pasuelo CNC edition as soon as we're done live here. And I think that's it. Next week, um, I've got a video almost done. Um, it may or may not get any traction. It's kind of narrow casting for people that want to add a second touch plate to their machine for whatever reason. Um, Members, I'll see you tomorrow. For the rest of you, see you next week. Thank you very much for stopping by, and y'all take care. Have a good one.